Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. How's your week going? It's been kind of crazy busy around here, but in a good way. It's beautiful. The weather is absolutely stunning, amazing. I know some of you are preparing for hurricanes and disasters, and that makes me very nervous. I know my girlfriend's right in the path, and I know some of you are right in the path. I'm hoping you stay safe, stay well. It's been a crazy time. 2020 is quite the year. Makes us really think about what's important and what's important in life, what's important to us. Today, it's flowers. That's what's going to be important today. I'm glad you're here. We've got a full crew on hand in the studio with me is Carolyn and Marisa. So they'll be watching for your questions and typing them in back to you, and then also talking to me, verbalizing so that I can talk to you. Virtually, we have Caledonia and Susie so that they can greet you and welcome you. And most important of all, we have you. Because this is all about you. It's a collaboration. I had the opportunity, I was going through all the comments and such, and I just want to do a shout out to Al Marie from Jamaica, because I loved her comment. She's been a florist forever. She's talented, she knows things, but she joins us for the weekly collaboration because she always takes something away. And as she put it, no one person knows everything. And that's so true. None of us know everything, but together we know quite a lot. So I hope you're here, you're bringing your wisdom, your creative genius, sharing it with the tribe. Take a moment, put your tulip in there, announce where you're from. If you're a first timer, let us know. If you're on your phone, turn it sideways for a bigger picture. If you don't want the comments in the way, stand it back up. Maybe you're watching me on your TV, larger than life. If you're on your desktop, you could go full screen because you're going to want to see all of these amazing things. I've got some fun, different things to share with you. Look at these. What do you think of that? Aren't those cool? It's Brasilia. It's a different variety than what I'm used to seeing, but it is Brasilia. And this is part of the master pool that we ordered in from florabundance.com. And a master pool, that's kind of an exciting way of getting a surprise. So instead of going online to florabundance.com and looking through everything and placing your order there, which gives you control, that's fabulous, that's the best. But sometimes you want a surprise. You don't know exactly what you want. So instead, you send a color palette and a budget, and then our friends at Floral Abundance walk through their coolers picking the cool stuff. And that's when you get to have things that you might not have ordered because you didn't know they were going to be there. They're not online. It's a surprise. So Brasilia, aren't those great? I'll show you some other things. Look at these. This is another one that was newer to me. It's a type of Banksia, but look at that color. Copper. It's exquisite. And the foliage with the serrated edge adds such interest and texture. Another of the master pool from Floral Abundance that is so amazing. Well, how about these? Pineapple lily. I wouldn't have ordered that. It wouldn't have occurred to me. I wouldn't have thought to ask for it. But if you go online, just type in florabundance.com and you look at their site, you'll find that the pictures are so good that you can see what it is. When I'm trying to find names of something, oftentimes I'll go there because I can hunt by variety, I can hunt by season, I can hunt by color. Echinacea pods, another copper beauty. They blend so well with the Banksia. What do you think? Don't you love it? This was just the best. When we were going through the box, it was so much fun to see what they sent. Yes, they have some standard items. There's roses, there's chrysanthemums, there's sunflowers, there's millet, there's sorghum, asclepias, eucalyptus rose hips, cottage yarrow, different grasses. I loved this. This is one that kind of made me laugh. Do you recognize? You might know if you smelled it. It's oregano. Oregano, when it blooms out, begins to get ready to go to seed. Isn't that wonderful? And some dyed tulips. These were pretty grand. I thought those were fun. So lots and lots of different things. So thank you for being here. Thank you to Al Marie for pointing out that no one person knows everything. I love that. Today we're going to design with our master pool. We're going to be having a ton of fun. I've got some interesting containers. I'll save this one for a little while. Maybe I'll start with this. As I was gathering my containers today, I was thinking about, what do I want to work with? What do I want? How do I want to do this? And I decided, well, today I'm going to start with things that came to me by surprise as gifts, like the master pool was a surprise. This was a gift of 2 bottles of champagne. Yes, it holds 2 bottles. From Bill and Chuck. They brought it to me as a gift one time, years and years and years and years ago. And it was a gift of 2 bottles of champagne, and I still have it. So I thought that would be a nice container. This came to us from one of our graduates, Vivian. She's an importer from China. She lives there, flew over, came to flower school, went back home. Anyway, shipped me some fun things. So this was one of hers. I believe we painted it. I believe it was more of a whitewash, and that we painted it into the purple some time ago. So I got that one. And then this I grabbed off the shelf. This was gifted to me after one of the 9th Moon floral exhibitions. So Greg Lum always flies in from the Bay Area, does his work, leaves his flowers because he has to go back down to California. And then he always says, oh, you just keep the container, it can be yours. So that's how I ended up with that. So these are gifted containers. And we're going to fill them with amazing flowers from Floral Abundance. And I've got a surprise for you from them too. So we'll come back to that. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and start designing because we have too many great things. If I don't get designing, we aren't going to get done. And we want to be able to have some fun with these things. So I think we'll just get a variety of different things out here. While I start pulling, Marisa, Carolyn, what's going on out there in the world?
Well, we've got lots of tulips here on YouTube. We have Tess, Janet, Jan, Liz, who's going to sign up for fundamentals soon, Graciela, Elaine, Veronica, Karen, Melinda, Rhonda, Vicky, Gail, Deanne, and Maria.
Wowzer, you got a full house there. That's pretty exciting. Grand.
And then over on the Facebook side, we have Beatrice and David, Gayla, Elisa, Robin, Arthur, both Sharons, Scott, Therese, Vanjie, Janet, Diane, Branda Lynn, Patty, Denise, Yerwardi, and Kathy. And Valerie actually grew some of the pineapple lilies in her garden this year.
Oh, how cool. You know, it's so fun to grow your own flowers. And I think that's one of the fastest growing segments of our flower world is micro farmers, people growing their own things. And in this day and age, you kind of need to because you don't know always how transportation is going to be. Now, once you start growing your own, you discover the seasonality, and all of a sudden you need a wholesaler that you can get things from when it's off season. And that's one of the things I love about Floral Abundance is they source things worldwide. So if you need something and it's out of season, they'll get it for you. Somewhere, somehow, they'll hunt it up. They literally buy worldwide every single week so that you can get whatever it is you need for your clients year-round. I've been getting a lot of comments from people and questions, and they send me an email or they text me or they call as, where am I going to get peonies? Peony season is pretty much over. Where do I get peonies? And I always send them to Floral Abundance because it seems as though Yost and the team there can get peonies literally year-round without any problems. So I always send you there. And they have been a godsend to me when I've been desperate for something and I can't find it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need this. My customer wants this. Where do I get it? And I call them up and I'll say, Debbie, help. I need this. And all of a sudden, she's like, oh yeah, we got that. We got you back. Not a problem. So it makes it kind of nice. Putting in some grasses, some movement. Started on a parallel fashion as it would grow in nature, and then continuing on with that sort of parallel feel, but no longer parallel lines because they curve. They've got movement. Isn't that great? Smoke bush, cotinus. Very long lasting if it's in water. If it dehydrates, it dies virtually instantly. So then you would say it's very short lasting. But the reality is, as long as it's got a good water source, it'll hold so well. And it gives you that depth and intensity of color that's pretty grand. So I've got an autumn palette going that's not a traditional yellow and orange and red. Instead, it's leaning to the burgundies, the mauves, the pinkier tones. And you can see even the grasses get a bit of that. Then the echinacea takes it over into coppery, anchored back with the smoke bush. Look at this variety of sedum. It was another one of the surprises in the box. It's a different type of sedum than I've ever worked with, and I love it. It's very dense, much more mounded, less flat, and great color to it. Then rose hips. Lovely rose hips. Need to be a little careful. In one of our lives a while ago, Cindy was on and was pointing out how some roses and rose hips and such can create pretty horrible hand damage. Their thorns can be almost deadly. And the reality is you do have to be very careful. Some thorns I'm allergic to, and so I'm always very conscious. Not so much roses for me, but rose hips create an allergic reaction with me. So I have to be very cautious, and when I work with them, make sure that I don't prick myself with them, because I end up getting infected basically, and it hurts. It's awful. So Cindy, you are correct. You do have to be very conscious of your materials so that you are careful. And I'm being very careful because some thorns can be absolutely deadly. So Marisa, Carolyn, what's going on?
Lori has a great comment. Lori is saying that the burgundy and mauve color palette, she has 3 weddings coming up with that new color palette. And I actually have a question in addition to that, because the Pantone color of the year is blue, right? Why are we saying this color so much?
You know, this color actually blends, well, not blends, but is complemented really well with the blue. So that classic blue that is the Pantone color of the year looks dynamite paired with this. So oftentimes the color trends that you see for each season don't necessarily coincide with the Pantone color of the year. And it evolves based on just personal choices and such. And I think this year's palette for autumn is leaning much more to those burgundies, merlots, mauve colors, as opposed to the fire palettes of traditional autumn. Although the Monday email I sent out was very traditional autumn with sunflowers. So it can go both directions. Carolyn, what have you got?
Yeah, Janet had a great question. Did you request a certain color palette when you were ordering these flowers from Floral Abundance?
I did, but I was also open. I said, you know, I would love to be able to do a couple different color harmonies to show the variation of what autumn is. So I asked them to go through the cooler and just look for autumn. And I didn't specify that it had to be fire-hued or it had to be more of the burgundy. I just said, I want autumn, and I want fabulous things with fun textures. And speaking of fun textures, This is the smoke bush. This was smoke bush foliage. This is the smoke bush bloom. And that's going to add some great texture and also lighten this. I'm going to choke here, but let me have a drink.
What's in that cup, Leanne?
I wish, but no, it's coffee. And in fact, if one of you wouldn't mind grabbing me a glass of water, I think I'm going to need it to get through because I am choking for some reason.
Do you think there may be something up there that maybe you may be allergic to?
You know, I wonder if I am having an allergic reaction to something. It's possible because there are some things here that I personally have not worked with before. So I could be having a little bit of an allergy. All of us in the floral world end up allergic to something at some time or another, and which is one of the reasons when you come to flower school, we introduce things at different times so that you discover which ones you might have an allergic reaction to. For me personally, my number one allergic, gardenias. Gardenias. I love them. I adore them. They make me so sick and I can hardly breathe. The other one that gets me sometimes is grevillea. Grevillea can get me. So again, I love it, but I'm very careful when I work with it. I put gloves on. Gardenias, I try to be in a very, very well ventilated area so that I don't breathe it in directly too much. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating because you don't want to be allergic, but the reality is we do get allergic to things, and that just sort of happens. Some oak leaves. I thought these were quintessentially autumn. Oh, thank you so much. I'll have safety now. Marisa, what's going on in your world?
Yeah, okay, let's see. Janice saw your, the two bouquet holders that were taped together.
Uh-huh.
And she was wondering if you could ever do a tutorial to actually show how you create the bouquet out of that.
Oh my gosh. You know, I had a couple people send me that note saying, Leanne, I would love to see you make this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I opened a can of worms. I may have to do that. It's not on my list at the moment, but you know, now that that's the third person, or maybe it's the same person asking 3 times, don't know. But now that it's come up again, I probably should. So I can't tell you when that's going to happen, but you know, it's probably a good idea and probably something I should do. If you didn't see it, it was on our Tulip Tuesday email. We send out emails 4 days a week. Monday is an inspirational video that's seasonally specific to help you get started and motivated for the week and to explore something new and different. Tuesday are tips for the tribe, little techniques. They're always just very short. Could be 30 seconds, could be a minute and a half, but they're super short. And it's just a little technique that will enhance your design. In fact, I have one coming up that I know you're gonna love, but I can't tell you about it yet because it's just too much fun. Then Wednesday is our live that tells you what's going to be happening. And then Thursday we do our thoughts video, just, you know, a pithy thought, something to think about including in your life, make you think about what your priorities are and how we can all be better people. So that's our Thursdays. And I don't do a Friday email, just because I don't. But anyway, so that's where we're at now currently. So if you don't get those emails, subscribe to the newsletter. And that way you'll get updated on everything and you'll know what's going on and you'll know what they're talking about with the oversized bouquet. So I'm going to need to stop there because I know we've got lots that we want to work with. So this was the autumn palette based upon the Merlot colors, that kind of burgundy look, and then stretching it out with a bit of mauve and some coppery hues with the rose hips. Lots of beautiful things from Florabundance. Now, if you're like me and you love to buy flowers, Florabundance is giving us a gift. Actually, they're giving you a gift. And no, they don't. I don't get a kickback on this. This is a gift. We're always striving to find things to share with the tribe. If you have not bought from Flora Abundance yet, they're doing a first order special. So you have to go in, you have to sign up, fill out the little form, get your business name on there and everything because they are wholesale. And then when you choose your materials at checkout, use the code first order 10 and you'll get 10% off. So you can get a surprise, find some fun things, and get 10% off too. So first order 10. So Caledonian Susie, if you can put that code in there so that our people can take advantage of that. Any questions about this one before I make it go away? Can I
Wow, lots of love on that one.
Trish has a great comment, and I think that we would all like to receive this. She was saying that you could leave the one side open of that container and put a bottle of wine in it.
That is true. I used this one other time where I did put a bottle in one side and then flowers on the other. But my fear was if I brought in a bottle to the studio, of course, afterwards, we'd have to drink it. And so, I sort of blew it, didn't I? That might have been a better thing. So, yeah, darn it. Oh, well, I guess we'll have to do that again another time.
And then I have a question about oak leaves. Sharon wants to know, once they start to change color, do they last? Can we use them?
You can. They do start crinkling. They get very crispy, and they die. But you know what? That's part of the beauty of the autumn palette. So I don't really worry about that. I kind of like it, to be honest. So yes, they do get crispy. Yes, they are going to die. And yes, you can still use them. Yeah, definitely. You like? Hellebore? Now the problem with hellebores is they look down. Their little faces face downward. And that can be a little frustrating. That one's kind of sad. Maybe I'll hydrate him more with some quick dip. We'll set him aside and save him for later. But sometimes that look is what you want. Other times you wish their faces were up, but that's their natural characteristic. The benefit is if you work with them well, you can angle them and get them to look upwards on a horizontal line. And last week, as I was stretching myself in my designs, I decided to work on a horizontal rather than a vertical. And I asked many of you, are you horizontal or vertical? And we were kind of 50-50 with maybe heavier to the vertical. But I thought, and then many of you followed through on that challenge and were looking at how you could work differently and challenge yourself to do something that maybe not the norm. And so Angie, she decided to try to work on the horizontal. And then she posted a picture of how it worked. Heather decided to stretch herself and do a Hogarth curve, which was very exciting to see that. And you did very well, both of you. I'm so proud of you that you pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and tried something different, because that's the only way that we grow as designers, is if we force ourselves to try something a little bit different. So heliobores are not my favorite thing. I'm afraid of them because their faces, they just go exactly where I want it. So I purposely avoid buying heliobores, and then here I get them in my surprise package. And I think that's good because it forces me to work with them and to address the fact that they maybe are different than what I'm used to, but that they're still beautiful and gorgeous, and that you can do things with them that maybe you can't do with something else. So I've got now 2 stems that I cut apart and placed in. I've got floral netting in here rather than foam, and maybe another of the Panacetum grass, and creating this horizontal movement again. So yes, I'm forcing myself away from the vertical. I let myself go vertical on the first one, my comfort zone, and now I'm forcing myself to work horizontally again to get that little different look going on. What do you think? Do you like the horizontal? Do you guys use heliobores? That's a tough one. Let's see. Type in there. Yes or no on heliobores. Do you work with them? I think they're exquisite. I love them, but I also find them to be a bit intimidating because I never quite know what to do with them. But guess what? Today I'm not letting myself get intimidated, and I am using them because I can and I will. And I will not say I can't, because I can and I will. And I'm going to do it. This rose, what is the color on this rose? This is just gorgeous.
That one.
That was a chocolate
Cappuccino.
cappuccino. So all I have to do is think about coffee, my cappuccino. Isn't that a beautiful rose? And again, taking that autumn color palette of muted hues, but taking it over into almost an aubergine instead of yellow again. I'm going to use these kind of lower to start establishing my focal emphasis, dropping them down in.
Leanne, do you know if Floral Abundance ships internationally?
They do not. They are only domestic. So sorry about that for our international customers. Floral Abundance strictly does domestic. Now they will do Hawaii and Alaska, beyond the contiguous states, but they don't ship outside of the country. And they do FedEx overnight so that it's delivered to your doorstep by 10:30. I love it. So you can sit at home browsing their website with all those fabulous pictures so you know exactly what you're getting. You can search by color, you can search by name, you can search by season. They've set it up so that you've got lots of different ways to look for something. And then so there you are sitting in your pajamas, although a lot of us are living in our pajamas 24/7 now because we're isolating at home. Not me, I get up and I get dressed and I make my bed because that's just what I do. But you can sit on your computer and order flowers and know that you're getting fabulous product and then have a no-contact delivery to your doorstep. So if you're working at home or a home-based studio or you're not able to go into your business, maybe it's still forced to be closed depending on where you are, you can still do flowers. Pretty grand.
Okay, can I ask you a few questions?
Let's do questions. I'm going to put some Brasilia in here while you ask.
Well, they're not really questions. I just have a tally on the, I can never say the name, Hellebore?
Hellebore.
Hellebore. I have 7 people that say they love them. One person said no, but the response they're saying is that they're difficult. A few people haven't tried them yet. And then a couple people are saying that they wilt. Do you have any tips on that?
Yes, it's when you harvest that makes all the difference in the world. So then finding a wholesaler that's reputable, that can send you good product. If they are harvested too early, they will wilt. There's nothing you can do about that. You have to have them harvested at the right stage. Then I find that quick dip, the hydration pre-treatment, is a huge plus with the heliobores. So it's pick them at the right stage. They need to be a little bit leathery. If they aren't leathery to the touch, then it's too soon. Do not harvest them. And if they did harvest them, they did it incorrectly and there's nothing you can do about that. Then when you get them in, treat them with quick dip so that they hydrate fully and completely, and then let them drink overnight. So we got these in yesterday and they've been drinking. We actually set the whole studio up. We did not put any of these things in the cooler because we wanted them just to be open and beautiful and to start being perfect for today. So I just left them out and they are hydrating beautifully. Carolyn, what have you got going on?
So we have a lot of people saying they do use hellebores, and in fact, a couple of them are growing them in their yard. And then we're getting lots of questions on the product that you're putting into the container right now, and including the tallest pineapple lily.
Yeah, this would be your pineapple lily. They are pretty long lasting, but they are kind of a spongy stem, so they are difficult to put into foam. It works, you just have to work with it. So I prefer to do them in just plain water, like I did here with the floral netting. This was the Brasilia, which Brasilia holds great, will just kind of be there for a long, long, long time. Get my spacing on that one. Then the Hellebores, the Panacetum grass, the Cappuccino roses. Isn't that a great palette? It all just works so well together. And I'm thinking some of the oregano would be good in there. Now the oregano is shedding a bit, so if it's gonna shed, just take and shake it so that it gets the shedding part out, because that's part of it's going to seed. It's the end of its life, but that's when it's so beautiful. So you just kind of shake it, clean it off, and that way it doesn't shake out into your arrangement. You're doing it ahead of time. And then bringing that, adding that depth of color and texture into the design. Oh, and it's so fragrant. You know, this may be what I'm having my allergic reaction to. I'm actually kind of feeling it right now again. I bet you it's the oregano that has me. So, and that's something that you'll have to kind of experiment. Which things do you get allergic to? Reactions, which things get you? For me, I'm thinking it's oregano. It seems to have me here. But you know what? I will suffer through it because it's too beautiful and I have to use it. I love it. So I'll just make sure and wash my hands later. But as you all know, we're supposed to be washing our hands a lot anyway. So.
Well, Leanne, Scott is suggesting the next time you get oregano, you need to shake it out, just do it over pizza.
There we go. I'm not sure if it's grown as food quality. I know it is the same product, but is it food quality? Maybe not. But that is true. You could shake it over your pizza. And you know, a little dirt never hurt anybody, right? So you can see I turned it so you could see the reverse side, and that way I could see where I was adding some things in here, making sure I get good placement throughout so that nothing gets kind of lost. Leaving the hellebores so that they show. I don't want them to get lost, so I'm kind of making sure that I don't cover them up. I want them extended outward. And same with the pineapple lily, keeping those so that they're visible. You don't want to end up burying things that you paid for. If you paid for it, you want to make sure that it shows and looks beautiful. So what else is going on?
Well, I have a question for the tribe. So I see a abundance, no pun intended, a variety of tactile and surface qualities in there. And I wanted to see if they knew what principle that was.
Okay, there you go. The question of the day. That's a great idea. Let's do some flower school here. Which element is demonstrated in this design reflecting the tactile qualities of the materials in this arrangement? That's a good question, Marisa. Excellent. So a little bit of flower school here. What is the tactile qualities and what element would that be? No, it's an element.
Whoops, that was my fault.
Yeah.
Excuse me, well, I lost that one, so.
I thought you said element.
I think I said principle.
Oh, bad teacher Marisa. Oh dear. Then bringing in a little bit of the smoke bush foliage, just for that little lightness and an increase of my tactile qualities. So who's the first one with the right answer? Do we have a right answer yet?
I have Janet on Facebook.
Okay, so Janet on Facebook has texture, I hope is what it is.
They're all, yes.
Everybody's getting texture? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've got a textural masterpiece here. Don't forget, if you want to play like I am and explore some different materials, just log on to florabundance.com. When you're done with this live, go take a look at all the different things they have. They just redid their website. It's all brand new, so it's easier to navigate. It looks wonderful. You will have to sign up in order to see pricing. You can look at all the pictures without being registered, but to see the pricing, you'll have to register. Just go ahead and put your business name in there and get that done. And then when you're ready to place an order, just remember it's first order 10. And that way you can save 10% as you explore. So what do you think of that one? Do you like it? A little bit different? Sort of horizontal, but mostly oval. It's done in a mass form instead of a linear form. It's basically a centerpiece, elevated a bit, and using cool materials, because that's what this is all about. Celebrating fabulous, wonderful materials. Now, I don't know if she's on camera right now. Well, not on camera, but online with us. But I want to do a shout out to one of our current students. Deanna is one of our online students, and she was applying for a job. And she hasn't graduated yet. She hasn't finished her studies. So she was actually applying for a job as a delivery driver in a flower shop. She thought that would expose her to more flowers and more flower people. So she was applying for a job as a delivery driver, and when they found out she was in flower school, they hired her as a designer. And she has been busy poking posies because her skills from flower school, even though she's not complete yet, introduced her right into her career of choice as a floral designer. So congratulations, Deanna. I'm so proud of you, and I'm very excited for you. That's pretty fabulous. So shout out to Deanna, and if she's not on now, I know she'll see it later. Sometimes she catches us in replay, and who knows, maybe she's at work right now. Wouldn't that be funny?
So Leanne, earlier when you had this container kind of in the background, Beatrice made a comment saying she thought that was a gong.
Oh, it kind of has that shape, doesn't it? Yeah. It's just that it's got a hole in the center. But yeah, it is like a big gong. I would say that is correct. I don't know where Greg got it. I know he brought it from San Francisco, so it was purchased there someplace. It's hollow on the inside. It's metal, like a gong. And then I put a plastic liner in and added foam so that I could have control. It isn't watertight, so I couldn't just pour water in. I had to put a plastic liner in there. And then this is another one of our surprises. Let's see who can identify that. I'm not telling you yet. You have to see. If you're from the Midwest, you probably know. So who recognizes this? So Carolyn, Marisa, you kind of let me know when and if somebody gets it. And my hint will be that it's used to be abundant in the Midwest. Not so much now, because the pesticides and such that they use killed it off. It was a weed in the Midwest. Okay, what have you got?
Okay, I got Eileen on Facebook and she says bittersweet.
And that is absolutely correct. So Eileen, it is bittersweet, and I want this to just kind of be here. You know how sometimes you want something to do something and it doesn't want to? And I want it right there, so I'm going to cheat. And technically, I'm not cheating. Technically, I am using mechanics that are available to me, which is a U-glue dash. I'm just going to bring it up and over where I want it, make a decision. I'm going to turn it and see how far I want it. Let's see. I think I want it right about there. So then once I know where I want it, using a U-glue dash, placing that on, and then just gluing it into place. And then I'm going to take one of the leaves that I plucked off and push it against that as well so that it covers the glue. And that's going to shrivel up because there's no water, but these are all going to shrivel up too. Now I could pluck the leaves off, and that way you could see more of the berries, but I kind of like the shriveling, so I'm going to leave that. That one's broken, so I'm going to go ahead and clip him out. Let's see here. Put that one out of there. And then grab a little bit more here.
Rick from New York has an interesting comment. He says that he believes that bittersweet is illegal to harvest, but is everywhere in New York.
Illegal to harvest, interesting. And why would that be? Any ideas? Because it is a weed. Now it's not so much a weed anymore. Now more and more people are growing it commercially because of the fact that as a weed it has started dying back and is not as abundant as a weed. So I wonder why it's not legal to harvest. Interesting.
Well, yeah, Lori says, you wouldn't believe what she's done with glue dots. She could do a whole series of tips.
I love it. You know, glue dots are one of those wonderful things that allow us to place things where we want it, even if it isn't quite going to fit. So it just allows you to fill it in a bit. There we go. So glue dots and dashes and strips, all of those are just wonderful. So now I've got my line begun, so the element of line, just kind of moving through, keeping it somewhat circular to match the feel of the framework, and then adding in more flowers. What else is going on?
Well, I'm going to give a shout out to Rebecca. She says she thanks her lucky stars that she's been taking the online course because after COVID hit, the floral manager quit and the owners of the shop automatically told her that they made her the manager, and school definitely helped.
Wow! So good job. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You know, education is vital to success, period. That's so true. And preparing yourself so that when that opportunity comes, that you're ready, it's really what it's all about. Making sure that you are ready when opportunity knocks. So I am so glad. So floral manager, wowzer.
Okay, Leanne, Arthur wants to know if there are different kinds of bittersweet. He is saying out there in New England, the berries are red and yellow.
There are different kinds, and what I see most often is more of the orangey hues. This yellow is available, obviously, we have it, but I see more of the orange usually. So yes, there are different varieties.
Okay, so let's see. Marcel says she believes that the variety we have in the variety that we have in the U.S. with the yellow berries is actually a native species, so they likely ban harvesting to protect it. The orange berry variety is not native to the U.S.
Oh, interesting. You know, that's what I love about these collaborations is I learn so much from you. And so thank you for sharing that. I didn't know where bittersweet grew. And then I was back to the farm with my husband right at the very beginning of our relationship. He took me back to the farm to meet his parents. I'd never been to an Indiana farm. And they were showing me the bittersweet and the pokeberry, which is a noxious, poisonous weed. And it's just all over their pond. And then the bittersweet's out by the cornfield, kind of along the highway, basically. And it was so much fun to go through and look at all these things that I'm going, oh my gosh, I want that. I want to design with it. And it was just weeds on the farm. Now I pay for it. Like, makes you wonder. But how cool is that? So I added in some sunflowers, carrying on with that round, and picking up the hues of that copper that's in there. These are natural colored sunflowers. Aren't they great? They're so grand. And then the yellow of the bittersweet picks up the yellow of the sunflower as well. That's more buttery instead of sunshine yellow. So it gives it a little bit more softness than you would have otherwise. Let's see, what else do I want to put in here? Maybe a little bit of the sedum.
Which would you mind saying again what variety of sunflower that's called?
You know, I have no idea
Oh.
what kind of sunflower it is. Do you have an idea of what kind of sunflower it is?
It's called, I love this, strawberry, well, yeah, strawberry blonde.
Strawberry blonde?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So I have strawberry blonde sunflowers. That's pretty funny. I
Okay,
like that.
sorry, Leanne, so we have more information on the bittersweet. I think this is so fascinating. Okay, Chris says, so it's the other way around, actually. The yellow berry is the invasive one, and the orange is the native.
Okay, we can believe both of you, I guess. I don't know. Never believe anything you find on a live stream. Research it yourself. So now that'll be the question, and I'll have to do some research too. Which is native, orange or yellow? Which is invasive, orange or yellow? And the answer could be both, depending on where you are. You know, I don't really know. So that can be our question. How fun is that? Let's see, what else do I want to put in here? I have so much cool stuff. It's like, oh, I just can't stop. Maybe a little bit of the millet.
You read my mind.
They did such an amazing job. Now, if you are in the California area, they're down outside of Santa Barbara. You can actually go to their wholesale house and walk through the coolers yourself and pick your items. So if you're a local person to that area, you can go shopping. If you're not local, like me, but you're always looking for cool and interesting things, you can go shopping online. How cool is that? And that's something that a lot of our students ask me. They're like, oh, I can't find cool flowers. I never get the cool things like you do. How come do you get the cool stuff? Well, it's because I know where to shop. And now I'm telling you, this is one of the places that I shop. This is one of my most favorites because I know that I can get cool stuff. And cool stuff's important because if you only use the same thing every time, your work gets a little boring and you get a little bored. This way, all of a sudden, it starts having more fun to it. So I've got the millet in there. Look at that movement. Isn't that great? It just kind of bobs around there, giving some nice little action. Maybe another one here. So what I'm doing is I'm reaching in from the back so I can grab the end and make sure that it goes into the foam, and then facing it from the front, I want that one to trail down a little more. There we go. Yeah. I'm just kind of manipulating it, molding it without really cracking it because I want it to be able to keep drinking water.
Barbara is saying that restraint on material is hard.
You know, when you have so much cool stuff, it's very hard. So that's a tip I could share with you. People always know, well, how do I know how much to buy? How do I know what I need to get? And especially when you're just buying to practice, or you're buying to get started, or you're buying to put inventory in your cooler, I always say start with a budget. How much are you willing to spend? Is it $500? Is it $100? Is it $50? Let's start with a budget. And that's what I did here, and I'm not going to tell you my budget because that's not fair. We don't discuss pricing on all of our lives. We'll do that again another time. But I always set a budget, and I know that's what I want to spend, and then I go to a color palette. So then when I go shopping and I start clicking, this time I just said, I want a master pool, you pick. Other times I go through and I start picking my materials, and I start by looking at the shapes. So there's line, mass, form, and filler. So I'll go through and I'll pick some line material. Then I'll go through and I'll pick mass material. Then I'll go through and look for form. And then I go through and look for filler. And by having line, mass, form, and filler, I know I have enough to be beautiful. And if I have it in my color palette, it just works. Then after I'm done and I have spent most of my budget, and I know I have line, mass, form, and filler, and I'm starting to run out of money, then I take a moment and I buy something special. I always look for one thing that is special. It might be special in that I've never worked with it. It might be special because I've never even seen it. It might be special because it's my favorite flower. So I always go through it, I do my order with line, mass, form, filler, then special. And that way you get everything you need. So I'm going to turn this, take a look. Yeah, I think we're kind of finishing up there. What do you think? You like that one? You know, a great container is everything. And searching out things that maybe weren't really a container. It was a work of art to use as just something in your home. And then turning it into a container makes it so fun. So don't forget, all of this was Florabundance. Thank you, Debbie, for doing an amazing master pool for us. I absolutely adore it. I'm going to move this back so that it goes into the frame so you can see how beautiful that is. Doesn't that look great? Oh my gosh, I love it. You know, that one, I always say, that might have to go home with me. My problem is you can only take home so many things, and it's too much fun to take home everything.
Ooh, Leanne, Arthur has a challenge for us. I would love to take the challenge on, but he's saying he would love to see this vessel used for Christmas time.
Well, you know what? We'll have to do a Christmas live. Who wants to do it? Marisa? Carolyn?
I'll do it too.
Oh, we're going to both of you. Oh my gosh, you know, we could have
You
dueling.
do one side, I'll do the other.
Okay. Oh.
Or maybe we could do 2 different weeks and then we can vote. Do they like Leanne's or Marisa's or Carolyn's? And if you don't vote for me, that's okay. You can be wrong. It's all right. So then, thought for my last one, I would go and just do some alternative mechanics. So rather than doing a foliage weave, like we teach you in basic floral design, rather than doing floral netting, like you learn in floral design, rather than doing foam, like you learn in floral design, I'm going to use rose hips to create a structural armature and then build upon that. So remembering that I am allergic to rose hips, so being very careful as I pull them out here. And just picking one nice big stem. Isn't that beautiful? Giving it a fresh cut. Careful not to poke myself. And David's probably watching online saying, Leanne, you're not supposed to touch rose hips. Why are you doing that? But I love them. And so I touch them. But by placing them in massed like this, and it's all the way down to the bottom, it then starts a structure that can support all of my other materials. So this could have been my something special because I like rose hips and because I know I can use them in so many different ways. I can use them as a filler, I can use them as a textural accent, or I could use them as a structure. Then I can go back, start looking for fun things. I've got some sorghum, and I don't really want this leaf, but I don't want to take it off, so I'm going to leave it for another day because it'll be pretty in something, but I don't want it in this one. And maybe a little bit of 9 bark. 9 bark is another one that is super, super, super thirsty, but when it wilts, the color is still kind of cool. So even though it may not hold as well as some of the other things, going ahead and placing it in, letting it come up nice and tall.
And we have a question about any sympathy inspiration designs. They're having a hard time reinventing that and was wondering if we have any segments coming up on that.
You know, we just did a sympathy, I think about a week ago, that was an updated version of the Circle of Life, a wreath for a sympathy design. So if you go to flowerschool.com, our website, and you go to the resources page, there is, I believe it'll be like 3rd from the top, maybe 2nd from the top, there will be a sympathy wreath. And you could even just type in sympathy in the search engine You know, in the, there's a search field on that page. You could type in sympathy and you could find it there as well. And I think you'll start seeing more sympathy work. We've been doing some filming with that, but that's the one I have that's the most recent for you right now. Marisa.
All right, got a really good question. And I don't know, maybe the tribe can answer this for Marion. They want to know what's the difference between a mass and a form flower.
Okay, so let's let the tribe start first. And so the question would be, how would you describe a mass flower and how would you describe a form flower? So what is the difference between a mass and a form? Let you go. Look at this. Whoop, that one's a little broken, so I'll cut him off. It's a very ruffly, beautiful Lisianthus. Isn't that great? Oh.
And then Joe wants to know if you ever wear gloves when you're working with flowers you're allergic to.
I do sometimes. In fact, I wear heavy-duty gloves, sometimes with my rose hips. If I'm not going to be super careful, I'm doing a lot of work, I put on these heavy gloves so that they can't break through. At Christmas time, I wear gloves most of the time because I don't like the pitch all over my fingers. So yes, I do wear gloves at times, and it would be wise if I wore gloves all the time, but I don't. But I should. So yes.
All right, I have an answer. Well, a possible answer. It's almost there. Do you want me to go ahead and
Sure,
tell you?
go
'Cause
ahead.
I actually have two that actually we can use. Okay, Sharon. So mass is a large flower, usually the focal. Form are the unique shaped ones. And then Trish, under that, is saying form is a shape like a stargazer lily, and a mass will be almost all round like a mum.
There we go. Good descriptions. Mass, when we teach you at flower school, mass is basically a round bloom. So a carnation, a chrysanthemum, an open rose could be a mass. And then form is anything with an interesting shape. So that would be a rose sometimes, and it could be a lily. It could be an iris. It could be a tulip. So something with an interesting shape. Line is something that is very sleek and upright. Linear, but you're not supposed to use the same word in the description. So the millet, the sorghum, the ninebark, those would all be line. And then filler is all the little things that just start filling in. So once you have that knowledge of those four, it helps you when you're learning what you want to substitute. So you would substitute a line flower for another line flower, or a form flower for another form flower. It also helps you to choose things for interest. Now, something like the Banksia, you could say it's mass because it's round, but you could also say it's form because it's so unique. And that's the way the rose is too. Sometimes it's mass, sometimes it's form, so they can vary. So I'm going to stop and set this aside. I just wanted to show you some more of the cool materials. A huge shout out and thank you to our friends at Flora Abundance for providing us so much amazing, fabulous product. And don't forget, your code is first order 10 if you want to experiment with it. Thank you, Al Marie. Thank you, Deanna, Angie, and Heather for inspiring me with your posts and what was going on. And thank you to each of you for joining us. If you haven't shared this video yet, please do. Invite people to join us for the weekly collaboration. And hopefully I'll see you in Flower School. I've been busy welcoming so many of you, and I know I have some still on my list that I need to get in there and get welcomes out for. So welcome to Flower School. I'm so glad you joined us for this collaboration. I'll see you all next week as we have more fun together, as we do something